My life was a spreadsheet. I'm Liam. I own Page One, a bright, minimalist, independent bookstore that also sells ridiculously expensive coffee. My world is curated. My inventory is managed by a software I built myself. My color-coded charts of sales per square foot are, frankly, a work of art. I am a man who believes in order. My nemesis, my own personal chaos demon, was Sam. Sam ran the last page, the used bookstore 2 doors down from me. His shop was a fire hazard. A dusty, overflowing, glorious mess of forgotten paperbacks, leaning towers of hardcovers, and old vinyl records that just felt right next to the poetry section. His inventory system was his own brain, and his business model was, as far as I could tell, just vibes. We were the 2 bookstores on a 5-block main street. We were natural-born rivals, fighting for the same tiny pool of people who still read physical books. I saw him as a lazy, disorganized slob. He saw me as a sterile, soulless corporation. He wasn't entirely wrong. Our town's biggest event was the Oak Haven Literary Festival, a 2-day affair on the town green. For years, we had operated in a state of Cold War, each in our own identical white tent on opposite ends of the lawn. This year was different. I got an email from the festival coordinator, a frantic, typo-filled mess that informed me that, due to a last-minute catastrophic budget cut, all non-essential vendors were being consolidated. I was being consolidated. With him. "You have got to be kidding me," I said, standing in the middle of a muddy field, looking at the single, 10-by-10 tent we were supposed to share. "Look, man, I don't like it any more than you do," Sam said. He was already hauling in a crate of what looked like mildewed encyclopedias. He was wearing a faded t-shirt, muddy boots, and a look of profound resignation. "Just, you take that side, I'll take this side. We'll pretend the other one doesn't exist." "Deal." "Deal," I grunted. It was a disaster from the word go. I had my sleek, white, modular shelving and my iPad-based POS system. He had 2 wobbly card tables and a cigar box for a cash register. "Hey, can you, move your pile of dusty books?" I asked, trying to set up my shelf. "They're shedding. I'm getting 19th century paper mites on my new graphic novels." "Can you turn your goddamn laptop screen down?" he shot back. The glare is killing the ancient wisdom vibe I'm trying to cultivate. We spent the first morning in a state of silent, passive-aggressive warfare. He'd sell a $5 dog-eared copy of The Catcher in the Rye and make a big, loud show of giving the customer a free, hand-stamped bookmark. I'd sell a $40 signed edition cookbook and loudly offer the customer a complimentary tote bag. We were pathetic. By noon, a new, more immediate enemy had shown up: the weather. The sky, which had been a perfect, sunny, fall festival blue, had turned a sick, greenish-gray. The wind picked up, whipping the canvas walls of our tiny tent. "That's not good," Sam said, his usual lazy drawl gone, replaced by a new, sharp edge. He was staring at the sky. "The forecast said clear until Tuesday," I said, pulling up the weather app on my phone, as if that would change anything. "Yeah, well, the forecast doesn't live here." He zipped up his worn-out jacket. "We need to weigh down the corners. Now." Before I could even process what he was saying, the first fat, cold drops of rain began to fall. And then the sky just opened. It wasn't a drizzle. It was a deluge. The wind hit the tent like a physical blow, and the canvas roof, which was probably installed by a local high school volunteer, bowed inward, collecting a massive, terrifying pool of water right over my pristine display of new hardcovers. "Oh God," I yelped, trying to move my books. "Forget the books," Sam yelled over the roar of the rain. "The whole thing is coming down. Grab that pole." The central pole of the 10-by-10 tent was groaning, the metal starting to bend under the weight of the water. Sam, in a move of pure, unthinking instinct, just launched himself at it. He braced his shoulder against the metal, his feet sliding in the mud, and used his entire body to shove the pole back upright, sending a tidal wave of water sluicing off the roof. He was just holding it. He was holding the entire tent up. "Liam," he yelled, his voice strained. He was already soaked, his hair plastered to his face. "I can't hold this. We gotta save the books. Get them in the bins. Now." I was frozen. My spreadsheet brain had no protocol for this. This was a non-negotiable, unplannable, total system failure. "Now, Liam, go." His yell, that raw, desperate, in-charge command, snapped me out of it. I looked at him, my nemesis, my rival, literally holding the roof over my head. And I looked at the books. Mine. It didn't matter. They were just books. And they were getting wet. I became a machine. I wasn't an accountant. I was a mover. I started grabbing armfuls of books, his priceless, leather-bound first editions and my brand-new, shrink-wrap bestsellers, and just started throwing them, indiscriminately, into the big, plastic, waterproof storage bins I'd brought. "Good," he grunted, his arms shaking from the strain. "Faster. The wind is shifting." It was a blur. For 10 minutes, we were a two-man team in the middle of a hurricane. He was the anchor, the unmovable object holding back the chaos. I was the motion, the frantic, desperate action. I cleared my shelves. I cleared his tables. I got everything, every last book, into the bins and snapped the lids shut. I was covered in mud, soaking wet, and my heart was hammering with a kind of adrenaline my pour-over coffee could never provide. I finally finished. I grabbed the last bin and shoved it to safety. "Okay, it's done. They're safe." "Great," he yelled. "Now get out. The whole thing is gonna go." "What about you?" I yelled back. "I'm right behind you." I scrambled out of the tent, dragging the last bin. The wind was so strong I could barely stand. I turned around, expecting Sam to be right there. He wasn't. He was still inside. He was still holding the pole. "Sam!" I screamed. "What are you doing? Get out!" "I can't," he yelled, his voice thin against the wind. "If I let go, the whole rig is gonna collapse on your stupid, expensive shelves. They'll be wrecked." He was right. My sleek, modular, white metal shelves were still in there. And he was saving them. "Forget the shelves, you idiot!" I screamed. "They're just things. Get out." "No, they're your things." I've never in my entire logical, well-planned life been so angry or so something else. I don't even have a word for it. I ran back into the tent, back into the storm. "Liam, get out of here." "Are you crazy?" he yelled, his face a mask of rain and sheer, stubborn effort. "You are," I said, my voice shaking. I got next to him. I put my own shoulder against the cold, wet metal pole. It was heavy, so heavy. "Okay, on 3. We're gonna push it upright, and then we're gonna let go and run. Together. Got it?" He just stared at me, his eyes wide, a look of pure, dumbfounded shock on his face. "1, I said, bracing myself. "Liam, this is so stupid." 2, he repositioned his feet, digging them into the mud. 3, we both shoved. With all our strength. The pole straightened. The roof snapped taut for just 1 second. "Run!" I yelled. We let go and we bolted. We scrambled out of the tent, grabbing each other's arms, and we didn't stop running until we were clear. We turned around, 10 feet away, and watched as a huge gust of wind hit the tent. The pole we had just been holding finally, totally gave way. The entire structure collapsed in on itself, a wet, muddy, tangled mess of canvas and my beautiful, broken metal shelves. We just stood there, side by side, in the driving rain, soaked to the bone, covered in mud, breathing hard. The world was a roar of wind and water. I was cold. I was tired. And my shelves were gone. I turned to Sam. He was looking at the wreckage, his face pale. "Your shelves," he whispered, his voice full of guilt. "Man, I'm so sorry." I just looked at him. At this man who I thought was my enemy. This man who had been willing to get crushed by a tent to save my stupid, replaceable property. "They were just things," I said, my voice quiet. "Yeah, but..." "They were just things, Sam." He finally looked at me. His hair was plastered to his face, and he had a small cut on his cheek. He was a mess. And he was, without question, the most decent, most courageous, most idiotic man I had ever met. My spreadsheet brain, my logical, A to B mind, just went offline. It didn't file a report. It didn't make a plan. I took a step closer to him, in the middle of the storm, in the mud, surrounded by the ruins of our shared, tiny world. He looked at me confused. "Liam, what are you?" I put my cold, wet, muddy hands on his shoulders. He tensed up, surprised. And I kissed him. It was a terrible kiss. It was cold and wet, and it tasted of rain and mud and adrenaline. It was clumsy. It was desperate. It was without a doubt the most chaotic, illogical, and absolutely necessary thing I had ever done. He froze for just a second, a solid, unmoving object under my hands. And then he just melted. His own hands, which had been hanging uselessly at his sides, came up and grabbed the front of my jacket, pulling me closer. He kissed me back, and his kiss wasn't clumsy at all. It was firm, and it was warm, and it was the only solid, real thing in the entire, screaming, chaotic world.